Alrighty, folks, this is your sneak peek, your look through into my hard goal for 2025. That, again, is to get healthy as a 53-year-old. As you may recall, we started this journey at 34.5% body fat. I was in the 99th percentile the wrong way. That is not a good thing. So we're going to talk with Dr. Jeff about all the things we've done the first 4.5 months. We'll talk about why we're doing it. We'll talk about why they're important. But this is live. So if you happen to be watching this, you can feel free to ask any and all questions. Dr. Jeff is always open to talking about what he is seeing. So if you're hearing about peptides or testosterone or any of these other things, we are game to talk about it because as everything with One Rental at a Time, it is about you, the audience. So Dr. Jeff, thank you for being here again. How you doing?
My pleasure. I'm doing great. Thank you. I hope you are feeling good. You're looking good. And, complete transparency, you did visit me the other day to say hi, and you're looking trim, you're looking fit, and you're at that point now where your weight isn't going down, but your muscle mass is. So I know we're getting the body comp changes that we want to achieve.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question because, again, we've been doing lots of things. We'll get into the blood work and all of that stuff at the 6-month mark, which will be June. So we will once again show you all the good, bad, and the ugly of the blood markers. But, thanks to your coaching and your advice, I did a test. I think it was on January 3rd. There's an exercise in CrossFit called Murph. And if you don't know what that is, you run a mile. You then do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then run a mile to work it out. So on January 1st or 2nd, I did that workout. I did not, just so we're clear, I did not wear a weight vest. If you're going to really do the program, you wear a weight vest. But when I ran that program in early January, it took me over an hour. I think it was an hour and 4 minutes. I just retested it last week and did sub 45 minutes. So, clearly getting stronger, getting healthier. So significant improvement to your point, right? The weight fell off, and we'll get into how the first 6 weeks, right? 20 pounds just fell off almost unbelievably so. But yeah, the last 6 weeks I'll admit to being frustrated because the scale isn't showing, that decline anymore. I'm stuck at like 200. But when I did that baseline test or retest, I guess you would call it, it was fun to see just how far I would come.
Excellent.
Talk about
so
that.
I'm going to insert some of my own personal journey as well. I think that might be helpful to some. So I have personally been using GLP-1 medication strategically now for over 2 years. So I started out, I wanted to lose a few pounds, which I did once I hit the right dose and hit the stride. And I love not having the food noise. So this is peptide. Now, this is big now. We talked about peptides more than once here. We'll talk about it more. It's hot. It's coming. GLP-1 medications are kind of a low-level peptide offering. And they help you lose weight, but they also help suppress inflammation because they lessen your cellular exposure to sugar, a known toxin, and an inflammatory toxin. And this will go back to the heading, and everything will come back to suppressing chronic inflammation is slowing the biological aging and cellular aging process. So if you want to be younger, look younger, feel younger, act younger, live longer, live healthier longer, this is how you do it. You suppress this inflammaging. I didn't come up with that word, but it's bomb. It's a great word.
It's a great word.
And anyway, GLP-1s is one strategy to suppress the exposure to sugar. You could do oral metformin. You could do berberine, which is a natural sort of form of that as well. You can combine these things. Anyway, so I lost muscle mass on the GLP-1s. You hear about this, right? People losing muscle mass in your face, in your body. And I wasn't as diligent with the gym as you are. And part of that was just, I go through phases. Part of it was work. They're great. I can list the excuses. We can all list the excuses. Sure. So at the encouragement of my wife, who is a morning exerciser,
Yeah.
And I prefer the late afternoon, but that's okay. She's like, just do it. So we've been, if I can tag Nike's tagline in here, we've been getting up. We've been at the gym at 6:00
That's
a.m.,
awesome. That's
which
awesome.
you're already, done with your workout by then, Michael. But we've been at the 6:00. Now it's been 2 months, and I have put back on the muscle. So what's the lesson here? You don't have to lose muscle with GLP-1s. You just have to get off the couch and do the work. I think someone told me that once. Do the work.
There you go.
That's my key. We got the muscles back on. My legs are back, and we're doing Pilates, which has been incredible for the core. So we talk about the core, and if you let me later, we'll talk about some other cool stuff with the core.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, this is again an episode for the audience. We've got a few people watching now. This is again about getting healthy over 50. But if you're not, a male over 50 and you're live watching this, ask some questions. Dr. Jeff is amazing. He's given us an hour, and he is the go-giver. He's trying to help everyone see what is possible, and has really, really gone all in on this health journey with me. Because again, he didn't have to say yes, right? I came in as out of, just overweight, fat, something. And he says, yeah, let's go do this. So I was going to say a bad word that might get a strike on YouTube, so I didn't say it. My mom would be proud. But one of the things that I really want to highlight that was so successful for me in the first, call it 60 or 90 days, and you told me this, was just moving more, right? I came into this with a mindset of, frankly, when I was 20 and made out of plastic, just work out so hard you have to peel yourself off the ground. That was how I measured myself, was how long was I on the ground, right, after the workout.
Yeah.
And I dumped all of that mindset from January, February, and most of March, and I just walked more. I didn't even walk hard, right? I just got my steps up to 15,000, 18,000, a couple of weekends over 20. And I got to tell you, I was shocked at how the weight, and I didn't really even push my barbell workouts at that point. I was just physically moving more. So just talk about why, if we just moved more, just a little bit more each and every day, the positive impact that can have.
Well, the body's amazing in its ability to adapt to its needs. And the needs here are physical demands. And there was a study, gosh, I wish I could find it. There was a group of researchers that went in and found this relatively native tribe somewhere. I can't remember the details. And they studied the men and the women in the tribe, and when they would rest and when they would hunt. And they were in such great shape, and they would adapt to, needing to go on these hunts. And it turned out that the physical activity was probably the bigger contributor than diet. So let me say that again. If you did more activity, you could forgive a little bit not great diet. I know that grammar was horrible, but I was trying to say it in a way. So you got to move. Your body is designed to move. That's what it does. It's a locomotive, engine. And if you move it, you will burn more calories. This goes back to the old, well, if I just burn more calories, well, it's some truth to that. It's not as ideal and engineered, but in your case, you simply just rev the engine more and longer. And you burn more gasoline in this case, fat, carbs.
And it's that's the key. And again, you're the doctor here, but as the operator of my engine, in your words, when I used to just take it to the red line and hold it at the red line as long as I could, the body again is tapping into different things. But when I just slow burn it at a 3,000 RPM for an hour walking on the Vegas Strip, it's just eating fat. That's how I felt. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but this slow baseline was just dumping fat. Where if I busted my ass for 20 minutes and peeled myself off the ground, it has to tap into other things.
Yeah, no, we like to mix this up. This is, we talk about, muscle gain and working to failure, a single set efficiently. We talk about high intensity intervals. So you're walking at a steady pace is not that kind of training, but it's pure, you've done it in order to shed the fat. Right. But we also need to build the muscle, and that's not going to come through long, steady walks. You're going to build the muscles of walking, and it's not really a big build. It's more of a burn. When you look at a marathon runner, they are not muscular.
No,
They are
not
lean,
usually.
efficient sports cars, right? When you look
Yes,
at a
correct.
bodybuilder, you're looking at structural.
Yeah.
And if I could pick a body, it's like if you could just jump into the age of 70 and pick a body type, I'd pick the bodybuilder because the muscle mass will help you prolong that survival. So the walking in your case is a strategy to some additional weight loss, but it is not the solution to your body composition,
Mm-hmm.
the full solution to your body composition desires,
Yep.
your cellular health, your biological age reduction plan, your all that. So it's gotta have some of both.
Yeah. The other thing, then again, you brought up, I think when we had our late February discussion was, basically telling me just that, Michael, walking is great. Your weight is going down. Congratulations. But you're really not pushing your heart. One of the things that you've really highlighted for me that I have to pay attention to is, what's it, HRV, or is that what it is?
HRV.
Kind of how strong the heart is. So something I've adopted the last 4 weeks is I live on a street with a pretty significant grade. So I am purposely at least twice a week, sometimes 3 a week, doing somewhere between 5 and 15 sets of hill sprints, right?
Right.
How fast can I go for 30 seconds before I just,
Yep.
lose it?
Yep.
And that has been very interesting to see, taking the heart rate up to something north of 150 routinely now, where in February, I probably never saw more than 80 or 85. Talk about that importance.
Yeah. I mean, there are studies that show if you just go outside and run the length of your block, just one segment of your block, and walk back, do that a few times every day. It could take you 5 minutes, really.
Right.
That burst exercise has more value in terms of cellular metabolism, which is our code for, getting your cells younger and healthier and fighting inflammation, releasing the peptides from your muscles that support building the muscles, that support suppressing the inflammation of dementia. These myokines, these peptides we make, is quite significant and valuable. So, and in fact, we talk about, here we are sitting down in our offices at your station there at my office, and sitting is the new, cancer, the new smoking.
Yeah.
So there are studies that show if you get up and do, 10 body weight squats every hour instead of, just getting up and walking around like your Apple Watch might tell you to, you're getting way more value out of it.
Yeah, it's these little changes that if we're conscious of, that really could take us so much farther. The next thing I kind of wanted to jump into is, when we did our blood work earlier in the year, the videos in your playlist, people can go back and check that out. One of the things that you prescribed to me was a testosterone cream, right? One of the things, obviously, as an older male, that it's not unnatural that goes down with age. So talk about the importance of knowing, right? Because you shouldn't be guessing. You should have a doctor do this with you, but understanding where you are and what might be ideal for you. Because we went with cream first. We'll check out where we are mid-year, and there are other options. But talk about the importance of knowing.
Well, I mean, you can't just take a stab at it, and you got to know you got to measure a certain panel of symptoms. And you have to measure your numbers. We're not just treating the numbers, but they give us some guidance. We don't want someone super high. We also don't want someone super low. And we're seeing this not just in older men, Michael. We're seeing it in younger and younger these days.
Wow.
Something in the microplastics in our world, the pesticide. We're not sure about everything that's causing it, but I see men in their 30s now with low testosterone. Wow. And this could be an issue. So replacement, we usually start with a topical, which is a cream every day, and that could be enough. I did that for many years until I was just not absorbing enough, and now I'm on the injection. So, and you also can do the pellets. Now, there are some new oral forms. I don't have enough experience with those to comment on them legitimately. So. But there are online services where you can get this stuff. It's very easy. They give you a perfunctory, doctor stamp and say, here's your prescription. You can get that. But maintaining your own hormones, for men, testosterone, for women, obviously others, including testosterone, can help suppress inflammatory changes in the body and helps us maintain muscle mass and bone density. Both correlates with longevity, healthy longevity.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm hearing more and more, and I knew we were going to have this conversation, so I saved it versus texting it to you, was apparently, I don't know if this is true, but I guess it's one of the largest indicators of health in old age is actually grip strength.
Yes.
I've heard things about you should be able to hold your body weight in two hands for 2
Yep.
minutes.
Yep.
And you should be able to dead hang for 2 minutes as a male.
Yep.
What is this grip strength all about?
Yeah. Well, dead hang is not just grip strength, but and in fact, that's one of the tests we did with you early on. We said, how long can you hang? And the grip strength is a measure. It's not the only measure. For example, if your grip strength is weak and you get one of those hand strengtheners and you sit at home watching TV and strengthen your grip, but the rest of you is no healthier, that's a false reading later. So
Right.
you have, it's just a general way to measure age. There are many ways to measure age effect, right? You could do brain testing. You can do the hang, like you said. You can do Murph test.
Right.
Yeah, you can do. They have these facial AI things. You can look at your face and guess your age by how you look. So,
yeah,
there are all kinds of different measures. So,
yeah. What is it about a dead hang? Because I never would have thought just hanging from a bar would be such a interesting measure. What is it about a dead hang?
Part grip. It's part stabilizing your shoulder and lat muscles and arms to hold there. You kind of have to use your core a little bit too. You can't just, I guess you could really relax and try it, but it's
I would not recommend that.
Yeah. So, it's just, it takes more than just your grip. So it's just another sort of measure of sorts that's easy to do.
Right. That is easy, yeah.
But we could build on that. We could do all the measures. And you and I built sort of a custom way of measuring things, right? We built a list of physical things, and we will revisit that again and see what we're doing and see how we've moved the needle.
Yeah, it's actually something interesting. I'll go back and try to summarize. Maybe you have it handy. What my January tests were. Maybe I'll look for a day this week where I will retest all of them and just see what's improved.
I'll send it to you after the video, and then we can put it in the show notes if you want, your results, and or maybe do it again and put your your new results there. And
I think
listen, here we are. We're at towards the end of the 4th month or so. So, what are your big gains that you feel, that you notice? Just not that we've measured, but that you've noticed.
Well, clearly, number one was weight. Weight's down at least 20 pounds, might be 22 pounds.
Okay.
I am clearly stronger. Every lift I do, every pull-up I do, my sprint, my wind, or what I call my wind, my ability to sprint, everything I'm doing is markedly better. Like, I can notice it better. It's not like a tenth. Like when I first started doing these hill sprints, I would do 2 or 3 of them, and by the 3rd one, I'm dead halfway through. Yesterday, I did 15 of them, right? And got stronger probably through 11, right? The last 2 were rough, but that's 14 and 15, where it used to be rough at 3. So not only is my wind better, but my recovery time. Because what I do is I do a 30-second sprint, then I walk down for 3 minutes to recover, and then I do it again, right? So it's
great.
It's
so when they all become easy, then if you want, listen, we all don't have hours and hours and hours to do this. So instead of adding more sprints, you add weights on your ankles or a weighted vest or something.
I have a 20-pound Murph vest. I have an 80-pound vest, a ruck vest with 80 pounds. So absolutely. And the other thing I do is rucking, right? Rucking was with that 80-pound vest was rough, especially where I live with all these hills. Now I can walk to the mailbox, which is roughly a mile away, all downhill one way, but all uphill the other. No problem. But it's a workout. Rucking is a workout for sure. So I would say everything is clothes fit way different, whether it's the pants need belts now or the shirts are tight in all the right places.
Good.
So, 4.5 months in, I'll be honest, I would have thought the weight was lower, but again, the body composition is definitely changing. So that's fun to see.
Yeah, we need to get back on the body comp machine, see where we are with that. Get your body fat, because we need to monitor it. So we need to do that. But how are you doing with we added some supplements last time, right?
Yeah, so it's funny. So again, I've been very good at the vitamins or supplements. I got a set of 5, And I had an allergic reaction to one of them. I don't know which one it is. So we backed off of those. Yeah, basically what happened is I would take it 2 hours later, 2.5 hours later, I would just feel this almost like my skin was on fire. It would start
That's
in
the
my
niacin. That's the niacin flush, though.
I don't know what that means. What is that?
Well, niacin was. Remember, we were trying to help you with some of your cholesterol and stuff. The niacin is a medicine that can make you flush. Some people do it for the flush.
So, wow. So that's on purpose? I had no idea.
Yeah, we need to start adding the other ones back. Leave niacin out for now.
Okay, so niacin. That's what I needed to hear. So niacin is the one to avoid. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to add these back just add them back one at a time. Go for a few days, and then if that didn't cause you to have the flushing, then the next one. Yeah, and they actually make a no flush niacin, although you still might flush. And it's a
again,
it's not harmful or anything. But
yeah, if I knew to expect it, and I knew how long it lasts, it would be okay. But I mean, it was borderline uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it's like
it can be. So just let's add them add these back one at a time.
Okay.
Leave niacin out for now.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
All right.
We want to get back on these because these were the additional ones because I want to move the needle on the labs too, on your blood labs. So
let's talk about the importance of supplements or vitamins, whatever you want to call them, because again, I was a guy at 53. I didn't take anything. Right. I didn't take anything. So
yeah, and they didn't cover this in med school very well, and I didn't take much for quite a bit of my life. And then I figured out that I wasn't living on an organic farm and growing most of my food in a garden, and I wasn't getting all the phytonutrients and diversity in fruits and vegetables in my bleached out, processed American diet. Despite my efforts to avoid that stuff, it's still everywhere, right? Even though hopefully some new efforts will help that. So the vitamins and supplements are to fill a gap in nutrition.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So again, this is something, again, everybody should get their blood work done, work with a professional, figure out what's missing in their diet, and then just look to complement what's missing. Is that fair? Did I say it right?
Yeah. And some of your supplements are strategic, right? We were adding like your cholesterol's high, so we added the right red rice yeast to help bind some of that. Your blood sugars and things were a little off, so we added the berberine for that. So some of these weren't just for gaps; they're strategic, natural ways of addressing these things, and without pharmaceuticals. Right? That's the goal here: is use plants.
Yeah. So again, folks, work with a professional. I suggest people get their blood work done twice a year. Is that too much, or do you think that?
No, I mean, at this age, in your 50s and so forth, I think that's reasonable. We might do a real big panel once a year, and then like just spot check some necessities mid-year. That's fine. Some people do it more. We could do hundreds and hundreds of labs if we wanted to. So we did a big biomarker, anti-aging biomarker on you the first time,
right?
And then we ordered some. Just some spot check things coming back around, testosterone panel, things like that.
Yeah, very cool. One of the things that we had a long conversation about, I think is worth putting here for everyone, is the different kind of fats, at least men, and I'm sure women as well, hold on their belly, right? There's the beer belly, but then there's this other layer, visceral fat or something like that.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of understanding both and attacking both.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot we're learning about the different types of things to move these different fats. So first of all, there are two types of fat in the body. There's white fat and brown fat. Brown fat is a darker looking fat. It's not really brown, but it's rich in what's called mitochondria in the cell. So if you remember your high school biology, you got a lot of mitochondria. It is very, it is metabolically, it is more active. When you exercise, that brown fat melts away. It's called baby fat. Okay. So a baby is chubby, and then about 1 year old, they start to walk or so. And then within months, that baby fat's gone because they're burning more calories. That goes away quickly. White fat's more of that old, just tough to get rid of stuff. Now, where it's deposited is usually superficial or visceral. Visceral means it's inside your abdomen in what's called the omentum, which is this kind of big floppy layer that holds the gut to our body, and it supplies the blood flow. So it's sort of the veins of that system, the arteries and the veins of that system. But it's a place where it can gather, and it's harder to get rid of because it's just deeper in there. The beer belly tends to be visceral, and then there's some superficial on top of that. Tends to be visceral. So a lot of things can contribute to that. So what we do, if you really want to dial in, we could look at your microbiome in your gut, what bacteria you have, what you're missing from what we want from an optimal bacterial profile, because you are a hotel for these different bacteria. And if you have the wrong mix of bacteria, you may not process sugar well. You may have other issues. So there's a lot to be learned there. And there are easy tests you can do for that. And then you replace it with maybe a custom probiotic. You go from an off-the-shelf probiotic to a custom probiotic or an additional probiotic. There are, for example, GLP-1 friendly probiotics that have a bacteria called Akkermansia. And this bacteria is somehow often missing. And you can still have blood sugar issues. You can have HbA1c go up even though you're on GLP-1. So the bacteria can mess with your hotel.
Wow. It's funny you bring that up. We had a comment from All Nighter talking about just watch the program on gut biomes. Is gut biomes the next latest, greatest kind of health investigation by doctors and PhDs? What's going on in the gut biome? Give us some more on that.
This has been around, but your regular medical doctors probably didn't cover it in med school. It's not part of what insurance likes to cover. And so, that's the tail wagging the dog again. And, but if you go to a good functional medicine doctor or maybe a naturopathic doctor or a really open-minded medical doctor like me, we might order that, and we might look at that for you. And gut microbiome means the studying the bacteria makeup of what's in your gastrointestinal tract, and then making adjustments based on that.
Very cool. Well, let's add that for something that we tackle in the second half of our Getting Healthy journey.
Yeah.
Let's see what we're doing with vitamins and all of that heading up to mid-year. But I'm game. I'm game to do anything that really helps educate the audience and get me on my journey to sub 10% body fat. That is the hard goal. 9.9%. We're on the way to that. So
speaking of which. Let's go back and talk about the testosterone impact on that. So have you noticed, you've been on testosterone 6 weeks, I think, and maybe longer.
8 weeks, I think.
Okay. And at 4 weeks, you really didn't notice much. Have you noticed anything now? And go back and re-answer that with how you've been improving your muscle mass, and tell me if you noticed the blip there.
So when I think about it critically, again, I've kind of already said it. Probably the most notable thing for me, and I don't know if it's testosterone related or not, because this is all going on at the same time, is I've been impressed at how fast my wind and my recovery is when I go max exertion, right? This is something you told me about with HRV, was go max, see how long it takes to recover, and do it again. So when I first started this, I needed 5 minutes to recover to really give it the same kind of max effort. Now I'm down to 3 minutes and probably could go to 2.5 minutes if I wanted to push it. So that is noticeable different. Don't know if that helps with that.
It does.
So
it does. It causes me to comment this. We talked about age tests a few moments earlier. Another age measure is what's called VO2 max. And when your wind is getting better, you're doing a poor man's VO2 max study. So VO2 max, for those listeners that don't know, is a test of the capacity, oxygen carrying capacity through your lungs. So you get on an exercise equipment to test it, and they put on a mask so they control the amount of oxygen. They measure the amount coming back out, and they can tell you, at your max consumption where that is, and your body needs to be able to consume more. So you've improved, and may have testosterone may have a role in that.
Okay. I didn't know. Again, not a doctor. I wouldn't have guessed that, but good to know.
Yeah.
I would say I've not seen any noticeable jumps in strength, nothing that I would not normally have seen from just lifting consistently. I will say, interestingly enough, I noticed like a month ago, I even had more energy when I woke up, right? I've always been a morning person. I've been up at between 5 and 5:30 for 20 years.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking to myself, this feels different, right? So again, the morning, and don't know I don't know if that's because I'm sleeping better, right? With some of the stuff we're doing, maybe I'm getting deeper sleep. Don't know. But I do remember thinking that like 4 weeks ago, going, and it was like 4 days in a row where I was
Right.
like, almost felt like I had had caffeine before I had had caffeine.
Right.
So that was interesting. It didn't continue that way, or I got used to it. Don't know where that's at, but I
Right.
remember thinking that 4 weeks ago. So that's what I'm thinking so far.
Well, we are tracking your sleep, right? You're
Yep.
wearing the Oura Ring
every day.
I know.
Every day.
Just for the kids at home, somebody went on a trip and forgot to bring his charger.
I did. Yes, that's me.
So we have some missing data, but you can actually go back and look at your sleep quality and tell me, since you've been on testosterone, have you noticed an improvement there?
I will. I have the data, so I will go back.
While you're looking at that, look also for your HRV, because last time we talked, you noticed you had a cold or something. You were sick.
Yep, I was sick. I got sick. It
your
told me.
HRV went down during that sickness, which we expect, right?
Yep.
But you have a pretty darn good HRV. It was in the 70s, I think it peaked.
Yep. Yeah.
So you're pretty fit. But when are we due for testosterone labs? Because I want to see if you're getting enough, because I want to see more muscle gain. So I want to push you a little bit.
You've gave me the, I don't know what's called, lab request. So I just have to go schedule. I have to do it. I'm going to try to do it by the end of this week.
Okay, good. So even though you and I probably won't do a public video again for a month, let's take a look at those as soon as you get them, and make any adjustments that we want to make, and we can just speak to them later.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. The other thing that there's two things. One thing that you've added to my life that is now probably it's now part of my routine, and then the other one you've beat me up on. It's never been part of my routine, and it's still not. So which one do you want to go through first?
Well, let's do the bad news first. So let's do the hard one.
Journaling. I do not get into writing down my feelings, or I consider it nonsense. Even the fact that you gave me 3 questions and they were really, really easy, it's like I just hate taking 10 minutes to sit down and talk about my feelings. It's like, I'm not doing this.
I think we've got a block here. And I think I'm not asking you for touchy-feely stuff. I'm not, I realize I'm not going into your deep emotional state. I want to know how you feel, not your feelings. If you want to talk about your feelings, great. We'll talk about them.
That's not happening.
I want to know how you feel, how you recovered that day. Why? Because we need the data. We need to know what we're doing that's moving the needle. And we can't know that with ease unless we have the data. So it doesn't have to be much. You can have a 1 to 10 scale. Today I felt all in all
a 1 to 10 scale.
Something like that, just to keep it simple for you. And I think we said do it at bedtime, because we've added flossing. So you're busy flossing and your mind is so it takes a few minutes to floss, and while you're flossing you can what's my how did I feel today, and then right when you're done flossing you can write down the thing. Keep it next to your sink upstairs at the bedroom, whatever. So that could be a way to trap you into doing this. And we put the 3 questions, I think, in the show notes from last time. Yes,
I think so.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. All right. So I will try to do that. So interestingly enough, the thing that is now without question a part of my routine is flossing. I would actually argue that I've actually noticed the last month or so, I might be flossing twice a day, right? Just be clear, for 52 years, I was not a flosser. Just even though my mother and wife would beat me up on it, both of them are flossers. I just wouldn't do it, right? Move on. But it is now part of the life.
It's okay. I wasn't a big flosser either until I read a study probably about 20 years ago. that said you will probably live another year and a half if you're a regular flosser. It's easy to do. I have some in my office.
Yeah, when you told me I could add 2 years to my life simply by flossing, that should be on like flossing's box. Like smoking has all these negative things on their box, like smoke this and you're going to die. Flossing should say floss and live longer. I don't know why that's not on the box.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not. It's very interesting. But that's an easy one. That's an easy hack.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, it's just routine now.
I'll tell you, I think I told you how it works, but just for the listeners who joined us today. So what happens is you eat and, you eat different things, and you have, with that, some bacteria get caught up in your gums, small food particles. It creates a local area of inflammation. Well, the gums are highly vascular. So some of that inflammation signals and even bacteria can be carried down into your heart, right? The veins go right to your heart. So you can get heart valve issues. You can get bodily inflammatory issues. So one way is to clean your air filter, of the car, your food filter is floss out those pro-inflammatory foreign bodies. So that begs a slight topic change into mouthwash.
Sure. Okay. Let's do it.
So I'm a mouthwash fan because I want fresh breath. I don't, whether I'm sharing my breath with someone else or myself, I want fresh. So there's some evidence, however, that we are maybe doing harm to our bacterial flora in our mouth. That's where your gut biome begins. And a lot of those bacteria help make nitric acid, and might make, NO2, which, comes from beets, and it's a good for your vessels and heart and other things. So we might be hurting that. There's a lot going on the internet. A colleague of mine, Dr. Brian Nathan, has some great videos on that. And he has an NO2 product, a lozenge that dissolves, and it lets NO2 go into your system, just like we're doing hydrogen, H2 bubbles in our water now.
Yeah, Olivia's got them at both houses. Yep.
Good, alkaline water, yeah. So those are, so I've been using less mouthwash. Instead of a big swig, I just take a little just to freshen up, trying to cut it back on my mouthwash. That's my little side topic today.
Side topic. Well, let's go to some comments again. Obviously we're live on YouTube, so you never know who joins. This is Z Chewy. He said he heard testosterone cream is better than taking the shot. The cream is applied once or twice a day. What says Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, so it can be once or twice a day, depending on how you're dosing it, how you're taking it, what have you. It's more controllable. You can modify the dose easier because how much you put on and stuff. But it doesn't deliver as well. And a lot of people struggle to absorb it. I struggle to absorb enough. So it depends on what your goals are. If you want to control the dosing better, it's probably better. If you want to get better bioavailability, that's the absorption, penetration, use in your body, it may not be the best.
All right. We got another one from Z Chewy. Since you are the stem cell whisperer, I thought I would throw this out there again. I don't know if any of this is true, but it sounds cool. I have seen folks gain 10 pounds of muscle by doing stem cells outside of the U.S. They did about, I don't even know what this means, 300 million cells through an IV bag. What say you? I don't know what that is.
So a 300 million stem cells is a pretty healthy number. That's a big number. Okay. It will not cause you by itself to gain muscle. It will make it easier to gain muscle. You still have to work out and do all the good things we're talking about. Eat a lot of protein and good, clean protein, and not do bad things to your body. It'll help you. It just having the infusion itself will not cause you to gain muscle.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next thing to talk about that I found to be very interesting, and we've already adjusted, was the simply tracking of what we're eating. Right. You had me get MyFitnessPal.
Yep.
Which I've been very religious at. Again, something else I do after every meal, whether it's lunch or dinner or snack, I put it in. And we actually went down, right? Initially, I was at 2,080 calories. We're now at 1,900. We made that adjustment after we spoke last time. So I find it very interesting. And then watching the ratios, It really
Macros.
helps me macros, right? It really helps me make better decisions because I know I have to put it in, right? I may want.
We'll be looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The simply tracking or knowing I'm going to put it in makes me make better food choices.
Yeah, let's talk about that because you are a 1%er in protein intake in terms of the patients I see. So you and I don't talk a lot about this because you've already got that wired the way I like it, and then some. Other people, we look at that data more frequently and we talk about, hey, you're not getting enough good protein and you're having too many carbs. And I noticed you had lots of cheesecake this week, and et cetera, et cetera. So you're just well behaved in that area. So we don't spend a lot of time on it because we don't need to for you. But many people, most people do need to, really work on that.
Yeah, I was trying to get my numbers from yesterday. I think I had 160 grams of protein yesterday.
Right on.
Right. So.
And by the way, if you I just saw a new study on protein intake. If you do at least 40 grams after a workout and the hours after a workout, it will continue to help you build muscle for 2 days. So even if you took a day off your workouts, which you can here and there, you're still building muscle. So,
nice.
And then we talked about another thing since the last video, and that's creatine. You pinged me and said, hey, what do you think about creatine? I'm seeing all these creatine gummies. And I said, well, I'm not a big gummy fan, right? There are so many like gelatins and other stuff in preservatives and colors in the gummies. Like it's like, but if you had all your vitamins and gummies, you're eating a lot of candy and junk. So I just like the regular capsules and things like that.
Yeah,
but,
you told me you put it in your coffee, so that's exactly what I did this morning. I got my creatine delivered yesterday. I just do, and again, 5 grams. That's what the little thing is. 5 grams is good. I see people saying 10, 15. I don't know what to believe out there.
Yeah, creatine alone should not be your only protein, but it's one that we probably don't get enough of, and it really does help support muscle gains and cognitive benefits. I mean, creatine has shown cardiovascular health. It's safe for men and women, that's a nice one. There are all kinds of different protein supplements on the market with different amino acid blends. There are great studies going on that show, oh, well, if you're more leucine heavy, leucine's amino acid, that helps this and that is, we're studying that all the time. And, we're going to get down to this someday soon, is there's going to be sort of these, we'll measure, some labs and protein analysis and determine which mix of amino acids is best for you and your goals. And then there'll be some company that's going to, okay, just 3% of this one, 2% of the, they'll dial it in and give you a box of it, and there's your custom blend. So I imagine that's coming soon, and maybe I should just do it. Create it.
Yeah, come on, Dr. Jeff, step up.
Well, we do have a nutraceutical project coming. If I can plug it here.
Go ahead.
I'm the exosome guy here. So exosome being the signaling factor from stem cells, and you and I are going to get into that in the second half of the year as well. Well, it turns out you can get exosomes from certain food sources that have health and longevity benefits to your cells. So you can get it from bone broth and bone marrow itself. You can get it from like chicken soup because it's made of chicken stock and from the chicken bones. You can get it from colostrum and mother's milk. I don't know what
that is.
Colostrum is the early mother's milk, and now they get it from cows, or cows delivering baby calves. They take the early milk and they dry it into a powder, and you could buy it and add it to your coffee. So it has exosomes and other growth factors and nutrients because it's the richest first milk.
Right.
And you can also get it from certain plants and vegetables. Now you'd have to eat a ton of fruits and vegetables to get enough of the fruit and vegetable exosomes. But yes, plants make stem cells, and those stem cells make exosomes. Those exosomes can be taken up by our cells for health benefits. It influences what genes are called upon. Healthy repair genes instead of inflammatory, cranky genes. Same with the proteins. It influences what proteins are made, the anti-inflammatory growth factors, things like that. That's what we want to focus on. Anyway, so we have curated some specific fruits that have been known to be in Mediterranean diets for longevity. And we have a lab in Italy that's extracting the exosomes, and we will have hopefully in the next 30 to 45 days a capsule of these things, and
Hmm.
and each capsule will be eating a large bushel of these fruits. So
Well, I look forward to being an early adopter of those and see what's what.
excellent.
Awesome. Well, we got another comment. It seems like stem cells to me as an outsider is all the rage now. Again, there's some early stuff going on apparently in Tijuana, which again, I
Yeah.
have no idea about, but
Yeah.
what's
So
going on with
listen,
stem cells?
so stem cells, I mean, that's what we do here. It's my main thrust in the practice is regenerative
Right.
medicine. So first of all, stem cells were initially available in Europe and Asia over 20 years ago, and that's why professional athletes would leave the country and go.
I'm going to go on vacation.
There's a lot of that. And then it became popular perhaps in the last decade and a half in Central America and in Mexico. And there are many places that have sprung up. And I know a lot of the people involved in that. And the Joe Rogan, for example, who has a podcast almost as popular as yours, he recommends a lot of the mixed martial art guys go down to the CPI in Tijuana. It's nearby, and they offer stem cells as well. But you can get them here in the States. And in the cutting edge of that isn't really the stem cells; it's the exosomes. So stem cells make signaling factors called exosomes. If we were to give you, Michael, exosomes in your vein, if you came to the office and I loaded your vein up with some exosomes to go throughout your body, they'd be gone in 10 to 14 days. But the benefits would outlast those 10 to 14 days, some of the benefits being permanent healing and repair. So wait a minute, you might say, if the stem cells are gone, what's doing the work? And at the end of the day, your cells are doing most of the work, both your stem cells and your own normal cells that helped you heal, repair, and maintain as a younger person. So not that you're that old, but we want to keep you young. So it turns out those stem cells that we give you are delivering smaller, abundant signaling particles to your cells to activate them. And those are called stem cell-derived exosomes, EXOSOMES. So you might say, why not just skip the delivery and go right to the exosomes? And you'd be right. We like to do that now because we can give a more concentrated dose of the stem cell signaling factor. It travels better through the body, crosses the blood-brain barrier, gets into the brain, the nervous system. It's what a pregnant woman gets through the placental barrier, and that's why her hair grows like crazy and her skin is glowing during pregnancy, etc. And it's about a third of the cost of stem cells. And again, you don't need to leave the country, but yeah, you can go down to Tijuana, spend some time at the seeing the zebra show and enjoying your time there. Yeah.
There you go. Well, one of the things, again, clearly I am interested in getting healthy. I'm seeing more and more stuff come across my Instagram and YouTube feed. The one I saw the last week or so is all about some kind of sleeping pad where you ground it or some stuff like that. What is
Let's
that
talk
a thing?
Is that
Yeah,
it is a thing.
Fake?
It is a thing, and about a month ago, we put a grounded mattress cover on our bed.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So as I mentioned to you earlier in other broadcasts, the process of aging and of inflammation, which go together, is an acidic process. It makes your blood slightly more acidic. That's why we like alkalinized eating. Leafy greens, lemon water, hydrogen water. The other thing you can do to get rid of some of this, electromagnetic forces in your body is to go outside in the morning when you wake up in bare feet and step on the grass and ground yourself, get the electricity out of your body. And if you're less electrically charged, you will have less acid. You will be more alkaline. So that's a picture of health. Cancer flourishes in acidic environments. Sugar brings acidic environments to the bloodstream. So grounding could be a way to get rid of that. So you can also ground while you sleep, potentially by using one of these pads. You plug it into, in your 3-hole prong at the wall receptacle. You only plug it into the middle lower grounding hole. Do not plug it into one of the other ones. It's electrifying. It's shocking what happens.
Yeah, it's not good. Follow the directions.
Yeah, that goes against. Now, some people say that if you plug it into that grounding, you're still connected to your electrical circuitry and you're really not grounding. But I don't know. I mean, if you look at how your house is wired, there is an actual copper thing that goes into the ground somewhere near your fuse box. So your entire house is grounded so that if, something accidentally happens, it goes to the ground. So you can do this yourself. Go outside and ground yourself by taking your shoes off and stepping on the grass. And
that's been something I've adopted. I got 2 dogs. I take them out in the morning. So it's kind of like, oh, now I'm barefoot versus wearing shoes. We got one more comment from Rich. I have no idea what this is, but maybe you do. Methylene blue.
Yeah. So this is new. There was a social media piece where they showed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. getting on an airplane and putting some blue drops in a glass. And
I remember that. Was that what that was?
Yeah. This is originally identified as a dye, a blue dye, but it turns out it has mitochondrial support and anti-inflammatory capacities. Some people say in higher doses it's anti-cancer and things. So, but that makes sense. Anything that's anti-inflammatory, it really is anti-cancer. So I haven't done the deep dive on it. I know that Huberman did something recently, and I usually listen to him, and I listen to Rhonda Patrick and Peter Attia and others, and then I do my own dive to see what I really think. But so I'm not the expert in methylene blue. I'm not using it myself yet. There was some downside piece. If you take too much, it starts to stain all your organs, and you got
that's not good.
So I don't know if that's a problem or it's just a thing. I don't know. So, but yeah, you could have more energy from it. The gentleman who wrote in or what have you. That's interesting.
Well, here's one for you. Again, I love getting questions from the audience. What's Trey Better has to say? Do you recommend red light therapy?
Yeah, it's anti-inflammatory for the skin, helps build collagen. We have a little red light panel at home. We're talking about maybe getting a full red light bed for the office. These are not cheap, these red light beds. So it might be something we invest in. We've got a lot of projects going on, so it's hard to do everything.
Yeah.
But we're looking at various different services to add, whether we're going to add that next or EBOO, which is an ozone treatment for the blood. We'll talk about that maybe next time. Is what's coming. I'm a fan of hot sauna, and I want to say this: the infrared red light therapy hot saunas are probably not hot enough to get the benefits of hot sauna. But if you have a real hot sauna, you can add the infralight, the red or infrared panels, the red light panels to the sauna, so you can get both the heat from the real sauna and the infrared or the red light for your skin and what have you. It is anti-inflammatory. A lot of people use it spot on injuries. We have a little one. Sometimes my wife will put it on her face trying to build the collagen. Her feet are cold. She'll try to improve the vessels in her feet. So different things.
Well, very cool. Dr. Jeff, I appreciate you helping me in this journey, and by happenstance, everyone in my community. Thank you for being here. Have an amazing day. Where can people look you up?
Recelebrate, RECELLEBRATE is the name of our brand. I think we're the only people using that word. So if you just put that in your browser or Instagram or any social media, you'll find us. There's always a way to reach out. Happy to talk to new people, meet new friends, and see if we can help you no matter what your issues are, top to bottom.
There you go, Dr. Jeff. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for helping me. And we will talk next time. Later.
Take care.